The year is ending and so is Season 6 in Limbus Company. For me, this is my first time witnessing season end, and I want to take this time to celebrate all things Project Moon, because I'm not joking, being introduced to this company and their games has actually changed the way that I view games probably forever. One arm down, 2 arms down, 1 enemy down, 2 enemies down. What is that? What have you done to my mouse? While I've been too busy to play or make videos for several months now, I did manage to get just over 700 levels on the Battle Pass, which allowed me to unlock every Season 6 ID and ego, minus poor W. Heathcliff, which is where I want to do my first appreciation to Project Moon. I'm a brand new player to the game. I have a lot of IDs, and I've managed to get every single Season 6 ID, pretty much, and I would have done very easily had I had time to actually run Mirror Dungeon weekly. That is just incredibly generous, and I wanted to make a quick note about that. Yeah, this is a special one. We really don't have many pulls, so I'm not expecting anything, but you know, if we get one, I'll be very happy. What's the Walp thing here? What's that? 50 thread. Way! To be honest, there were 2 more IDs that I didn't have, but I had just enough boxes and shards to pick them up, and that was the latest Blood Fiend for Mersault and the newest Ryoshu ID. It was actually a really exciting couple of hours just before I knew the series was going down and we were going to basically say goodbye to Season 6. Opening boxes without a care in the world, binning shards on IDs because I just didn't want to sit on 400 or close to 400. It would have felt like a waste. And I've been told excess shards do actually get converted into thread, so you do actually get something for leaving shards behind, which is great because I had so many IDs that were 200 and 300, but I just couldn't get them to that 400 mark. But to be honest with you, I'm actually sat at about 1000 thread already. For the first time my entire time playing this game, I've got excess thread. I did make a mistake in hindsight though, as I had 400 Rodion shards left, and I saw there was a new reindeer ID and I just had to pick her up. I mean, look at that fantastic splash art, how can you say no? And this does mean I can mess around more again in future with charge and sinking, or charge sinking. Though to be honest, I really wish that I bought Rhymeshank instead. I was running out of time, to be honest with you. I had to get back to my university assignments. Right now I'm working on a massive documentary spanning the entire career of the director Stanley Kubrick, just in case anybody's interested. So in panic, I bought the only WoW ego for Faust I had left to pick up. Though honestly, grabbing any ego is probably worth it, just in case they ever do another collab with limited time egos. I didn't get very lucky with this collab. I did get all of them, but I didn't get the last 2 without hitting pity. Thankfully I just about managed to hit the resources needed by the end to pick up the last one. I'm hoping if there's a next one, by unlocking any ego now, it shrinks my ego pool to give me a better chance next time. Following that event, we actually had another WoW purchase, so let's talk about that. My first Walp ever was the introduction of Queen of Hatred Dawn and Knight of Despair Rodion. And honestly for me, just coming off the back of 100% completing the Lobotomy Corporation, this was perfect. I liked both of these 2 abnormalities in the game, and I really like both of the IDs in Limbus Company. To be honest, both of them are in my top 5, but we'll cover that later on in this video. I had actually saved up almost all my YouTube ad revenue waiting for this event. And my idea was, I'm just going to spend a lot of money, to be honest with you, but I wanted to get everything WoW related in that single summoning session. And we did. So that hopefully means in the future, I'm always going to be able to say that I've got every Walp ID and ego. I still haven't actually managed to use most of the IDs, but the ones I have used are all awesome. Solemn Yi-Sang was a big surprise for me because I wasn't that excited about getting him, but he was part of my first proper team and he shone so much brighter than I expected. The second Walp I took part in came with 2 new IDs for Gregor and Ishmael, and I assume they're related to Library, but I wouldn't know as I've not got very far in that game, which is the perfect time to talk about that. I made the mistake of starting Library of Ruina on stream, and now in my mind I have to complete it on stream, which is a big problem because I just don't have the time to do that. And when I'm on stream, the rate at which I get through the game is drastically slower than off stream. So in 2026, I am going to play and finish Library Ruiner. I'm going to start a brand new playthrough, but I'm going to play it off stream, so that way I know I can actually get through it. I hope you're all okay with that, and you will eventually see a video on that game. The new Ishmael ID that came from this Walp, by the way, is now also in my top 5, but I am slightly biased because she's slowly becoming one of my favourite sinners. Which is interesting, because she was always just kind of in the middle, and then when I finally got to her Canto, she dropped right to the bottom for me. She got on my nerves way too much. And yet, by the time I finished her Canto, she was easily among the sort of top 3 or 4 sinners for me. I'm actually really struggling with this next bit. I wanted to kind of list my sinners in terms of favourites to least favourites. I think it'd be really interesting to look back at this maybe at the end of Season 7 to see if anything has changed. And I do think there's bias towards the sinners whose Cantos you've already completed. The more you know about them, the more there is to like or even dislike. Otis and Ryoshu are a really good example in my opinion. It's not that I don't view them as my favourites, it's just there's still so much to learn. That being said, Otis definitely sits somewhere near the bottom. Sorry, Otis fans. For me, Gregor probably sits just a little bit below Otis, but he sits firmly above Sinclair. So, Sinclair fans, I am really sorry. He is firmly at the bottom, in my opinion. He is my least favourite sinner. He was at the start, and he still is now. Rodion as a character sits somewhere in the middle, but her splash arts of her basically destroying food really makes me want to put her higher. Maybe it's the memes that I keep seeing that's actually kind of encouraging me to put her higher up. Faust always was my favourite, and I think she still is. There was a moment during Ishmael's Canto where I felt like she was slipping closer and closer to the stereotypical smartest person in the world, but after Murder on the Warp Express, I do feel like she's showing character growth, and has secured the number 1 spot still. Number 2, despite annoying me very early in the game, has become Don Quixote. Normally the loud and obnoxious characters just jar with me, and I admit she did for the first week or two. But no character in the history of any game ever has grown on me the way that I think Don Quixote has, and she is easily number 2. Spots 3 and 4 are reserved for Heathmail and Ish, but I can't decide who goes where. Meursault, Yisang, Honglu, they all just kind of hang out somewhere in the middle, just behind Heath and Ish. And like I said, it'll be really interesting at the end of Season 7 to see if this changes or not. So let's move on to IDs then. My favourite ID is actually Kodia. It was my first Walp. I really like that abnormality in the Lobotomy Corporation. She's extremely strong and she's sinking, which has become my favourite status. My next favourite is Queen of Hatred, for pretty much all of the same reasons, minus the sinking. Third place goes to Ram or Lambdon, I'm not really sure what people are calling her, purely for aesthetic reasons. I haven't even actually used it yet, but that's the fastest I've ever sharded an ID. Just look at that splash art. Look at it. It's adorable. Fourth is actually Office Rep Ishmael. I really like her mechanic around Blight, and I think it's actually pretty simple. It sits there between really good and not overly complicated to try and learn and figure out. I remember when I got Malfaust, she's the strongest ID in the game, but there was a learning curve, and I don't think the learning curve is necessarily there for Ishmael. I just think she's a really well built character. Finally then is actually another Ishmael ID, Zwei Ishmael. She looks super cool, and she rescued me from Ricardo Hell. I could add so many other IDs to this list. Honestly, limiting it to top 5 was the best thing I could have done. Because that 6 to 10 spot, 6 to 15 spot, it all just starts to get a bit jumbled and muddied. All of the Heishu IDs could easily stick in there now. Wild Hunt Heathcliff, Solm Yi Sang, Night Owl Gregor, Thumb Claire, Thumb Soul. You get the point. In terms of achievements, we beat Mirror Dungeon, and an Infinite, and an Extreme, and even did an Extreme solo run. But I've not actually tried another solo run just yet. We got Railway Refraction 5 down to 63 turns. It's not great, I'll admit, but I'm happy enough with that. And we did beat Railway Refraction 1, but I can't see my turn count sadly. But I remember being somewhere just over 100. I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's all we got. We beat all Cantos, Intervallos, and even the event content too. I'm so absurdly overdue on a Canto 8 video, but we will cover that in this video in just a minute. For now, I want to discuss the Cantos in terms of my favourites. Still at the top for me is Canto 6.
보이지 않을 때, 어디로 어떻게 나아가야 할지 모를 때. 그래서 겔잡이가 있는 겁니다. 딴테.
I think the pacing was the best. I found the story super interesting, and I've always liked Heathcliff. Plus, I actually pulled Wild Hunt Heathcliff right at the start of the game, so it was super cool to learn more about him specifically. Canto 7 takes my second spot. It was a little bit on the long side for me personally, but that was my fault for doing it all in one day. But the story was exceptional and helped Don take the second spot on the Sinner leaderboard. Canto 8 is third. Brilliant story, the best soundtrack by far, and the most interesting side characters without a doubt. But it just sits below Canto 7 for me. And then it's Cantos 5, 4, 3, 1 and then 2. I've seen a lot of comments online that say Canto 2 was probably meant to be an intervallo, and I agree with that. It doesn't quite hold up to the other cantos. And on that note, just because Canto 1 sits second worst, that doesn't mean it's a bad canto at all. Honestly, I still think it is the best introduction to any game I've ever experienced, and I still actually think about Yuri from time to time even now. So, Canto 8. What happened? Where's the video on that? I have the footage and I was going to make a video covering it, but I started to feel a little bit burned out, so I detoured to working on the 4-part miniseries as a break from creating story content. The first 3 videos were getting me really excited to make Canto 8, and I was starting to get some really good ideas for it, but the final video of that 4-part series actually burned me out further. Also, as I was finishing it, the event collab kind of snuck up on me. I didn't realise how long I had spent working on this series, so I believe I had to complete 2 intervallos, a canto, and as I finished Canto 8, the event content dropped. So I had to do a huge chunk in one sitting, right at the point where I was just feeling like I kind of could do with just stepping away from this game, just for a little bit. And also, this is a good time to actually mention that for me, this is unheard of. I joined Limbus Company, I think it was back in May, but I can't remember. And I played basically nothing but Limbus Company and the Boston Corporation, a little bit of library, for months. I think I've got 600 and something hours playtime in Limbus Company and 100 and something hours in the Boston Corporation. I don't usually stick at a game for this long. I usually would probably have moved on to something by now. So the fact that I carried on going, the fact that I'm really excited to continue again in Season 7 when I get enough free time, tells you how much I really value this game. So those of you who actually tuned into my stream covering the collab event probably could tell that I was struggling a little bit of burnout at that point and needed a little bit of a break. So apologies for anyone else there that could see I just really was not up for it. My bad. But I have had a good long break and I do feel refreshed, ready to come back and play some more Limbus Company and hopefully cover Canto 9 once I get Canto's 8 video out of the way. So my plan is, obviously it's been a while since I played through Canto 8. My memory isn't very good at the best of times. I'm going to have to do a lot of research into it, and I'm going to try make the video hopefully as I remember things happening, so it's not just a retelling of the story. Hopefully I'm introducing the sort of feelings I remember experiencing when I was playing through it. So I'll reread up on the whole thing, I'll watch all my footage again, and hopefully I can make a video for you guys sometime in January. So, Canto 9. I think the first part of it has literally just dropped today. To be honest with you, I am terrified. I'm seeing so many people that are really excited about all this, and don't get me wrong, I'm excited, but the people that we're going to face in this Canto are the scariest people we've ever encountered in Limbus Company. So obviously in Canto 8 there is a lot to do with the thumb. And obviously they're going to be involved in Canto 9 heavily. And Ricardo, who has still been the biggest roadblock for me in this entire game, is from the middle. So sure, I am extremely excited about Canto 9, but I'd be lying to you if I didn't say I was genuinely crapping myself, and I think this is going to be an extremely hard Canto. Going forward in the new year, my plan is to upload 1 video a week, and I will not push myself to do any more than that. And that's because I actually also need to start working on my business, so that way when I finish year 3, which is a long way off still admittedly, I don't actually end up jobless. And part of that actually involves uploading vlog footage, which I need to basically act as a portfolio. So I have created a second channel for that. I'm not going to link it because I don't want people to go over there and subscribe, because I want to do it completely organically. So I'm not going to ask you guys to go and subscribe or anything like that. But what I will say is one day I do hope the 2 channels have a slight crossover, because I generally do actually want to go visit South Korea one day and visit Ham Hang Pang. Wow, that's surprisingly hard to say. And visit Ham Ham Pang Pang. I might be pronouncing that wrong, but I think that's how it's written. Anyways, Happy New Year everybody. Thank you so much to everybody who stuck around. I can only once again apologise for the lack of uploads. Year 2 in university is actually way busier and more full on than I expected. I cannot promise I'm going to be uploading a lot moving forwards, As it is right now, I'm working on 3 more assignments, but I do get a small break somewhere around mid-January. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching, thank you for listening, Happy New Year, late Merry Christmas, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye bye. Limbus Company opens up with a fully voiced cutscene. In fact, everything so far seems to be fully voiced. Even if it's in Korean, the voice acting is really good, and immediately gives the game a AAA feel, despite it being by an indie game studio called Project Moon. The game takes you through various tutorials to further explain combat and make more sense of it all, but as a new player it just feels way too overwhelming.